Hey everyone, what's up? It's your buddy MiRai. It's your old pal MiRai. Let me just put myself into this cockpit I've got here. I'm kind of jammed in this area. Well, I think it's time to bring this back. We're only about 9 months too late, but I think it's about time we bring this back. So, welcome to another episode of Multiboxing with MiRai, yours truly, right here, right now, in the flesh. I'm excited. You're excited. We've got some stuff to talk about. A lot of things have changed. This is gonna kind of be long. I'm sorry, unscripted. I'm just gonna talk about a whole lot of things here. I have a list. Don't worry. We are gonna go down a list, but everything has changed. I mean, so later down the line, people are going to watch this in the entire playlist, and they're going to be like, "What? I just watched the last episode. Nothing changed." Well, check the upload date. It's been quite some time. So we have some stuff to go over. Let's bring this down here. First of all, I'd like to start out with an apology here. I can't believe I left you guys with Violet Hold. I had a bandana on. I had my glasses on, and we were in Violet Hold. Extremely unexciting. I left on the lowest note I could possibly have left on. Maybe that's not true. Oculus is pretty terrible. So, but Violet Hold isn't very exciting either. So, here we are. We're back. I'm back. It's time to all 18 of my fans. I'm excited. You guys are excited. It's time to rock and roll. We got a lot of stuff to cover. I'm sure you've already noticed that some of this is different already. It's different already. I'll just repeat myself. So we've got a new camera angle. That's because I upgraded my machine back last year, and I had to make some changes to my desk. Those are all kind of documented in one of my building a computer with MiRai videos. And you guys used to be up on top of my desk, and you were looking down at me. Now I had to raise the desk up a bit. You're way too high, and you're really just looking at my shiny dome. It's really not a good camera angle, so here you are. You're in my face now. You're in my face. Bam. I'm watching you. Okay, new camera angle, great. Before we get started, I will say that this information overlay is put up here. Actually, if I could find it. Not even prepared for this. Not even prepared. We're going to start this bad boy up. And we're going to get another entry down here. I always forget to start that up. There it is. Nope. No updates. Goodbye. So this is all being displayed thanks to MSI Afterburner. Well, it's actually Riva Tuner Statistics Server. Riva Tuner Statistics Server. They couldn't have picked a longer name for that program. It's RTSS for short. It comes pre-packaged with MSI Afterburner, which is what I use to monitor my GPUs and overclock my GPUs if I need to. So that's what's going on here. The CPU is actually being handled by a program called Hardware Info, and it also ties directly into RTSS, so that's why I could display everything on the screen here, nice and fancy, and that's that. Now these numbers, just real quick, this is going to be real quick because people are going to ask, I know they are. So obviously I've got 3 GPUs, I'm running them in SLI right now. You can see their temperatures, you can see the video RAM that's loaded, you can see their overall load that's being used right at the moment. Now this video RAM is a little bloated. I do have 1,000 tabs open in Chrome. Chrome tends to add a lot of, at least probably about 500 megabytes to this number right here. So if I was to close Chrome, this number would go down. I don't want to close Chrome. That's the end of that. So then we've got the GPUs. It tells us what API we're running in. I am using DirectX 9. This is funny. I really don't want to get into video settings at the moment, but I used to be such an advocate. I used to be so pro DX11. Like, run DX11. It's better. It's so better. then I started to question myself. Is it really all that better? Well, I should probably make a separate video about my video settings because it's really not important at the moment. Maybe I will do that, but I'm running DirectX 9. It takes less resources compared to DirectX 11. You get pretty much the exact same experience, but with DirectX 9, you can also add bonus video settings to that. So now that I said that, I have to make a video because people are going to be like, well, what bonus settings are those? So maybe after this one, or maybe in between one of the other videos, I will make a video settings video. It just kind of outlines what I'm doing. So, and then of course I have a 4930K and it's at about 40% load and it's sitting at 56 degrees Celsius. Fantastic. Okay. So that is MSI Afterburn. That is the overlay. So the UI, let's move this up real fast. Move this out of the way. Everybody wake up. It's time to rock and roll, folks. Character names. Character names are gone. Obviously, if I click on my characters, they're still there. All character names are gone, including friendlies, all friendlies, everybody's gone. It's funny that this change has been made now. In one of the prior videos of multiboxing of this series, someone posted a comment. If you're still watching, I'm sorry if I forget your name. I forget who you were. I didn't look it up before this, but someone posted a comment that said, man, it would be much better, much cleaner if you removed your characters' names. Because they're kind of in the way. They're kind of all that text in the way. It's just a blah. You know, I don't know. It's just blah. And it's funny because I had already disabled those character names at that point in time. And I replied, I said, you know, they're already gone. So it's funny that you say that, but in the next episodes, they'll be gone as well. So that's that. New resolution. So before, if you remember, if you could remember that far back, I was using a 1920 by 720 resolution, and I had all four of my other followers in the bottom right-hand corner, and I had my big fat head in the bottom left-hand corner. So we've changed it up to, I've increased the resolution to 1920 by 864. This is a standard window layout, wizard created layout, minus the fact that I am using video effects on a DX Nothing window below. Getting kind of fancy there, So new resolution, got a little bit more screen space now to play with. And that's pretty much it. That's the end of my story. Nameplates. Well, you can't really see the nameplates. You know, let me roll. I'll throw up some footage here. You can see the nameplates, and that's also going to take us into crosshairs as well. So you're going to see that there's this new crosshair I've got going on, and the nameplates they're cool. They're revamped. They're kind of new. They're kind of fresh. And the debuffs on the enemy are no longer being displayed on the nameplates themselves or the unit frame themselves. They're actually over there just to the right. They're pretty fat. They're pretty big. You can't really miss them. So they're over there to the right, a little above the target frame, kind of, sort of. And that's just new for combat. The crosshairs, they're not really there for anything but aesthetics. You know, people are going to say, we know, dude, you're a sucker for aesthetics. But if you don't know, I'm a sucker for aesthetics. I am. So I really like it. I was afraid I might not like it. I was afraid it might be a little intrusive. I talked before about how I don't like shit all over my screen. On the other hand, I think it kind of fits in well. I like the way it moves around. I worked with the guy. He kind of created it for me, but now it's available on WoW Interface. I don't know if it is exactly the same form. I worked with this guy, Semler. I apologize if I pronounced your name wrong. But he had this add-on for his focus targets, and I was like, man, that would be awesome if this could just hook onto anybody's nameplates. Enemy, friendly. It also gets class colored. If you have your friendly nameplate set to class colored or your enemy nameplate set to class colored, I guess. I haven't really tried it out in PvP very much, so I don't know. What else was I going to say about that? Oh, besides the aesthetic thing with the crosshairs, it kind of helps me locate my target easier. Because sometimes this happens where you've got this big group that you're trying to tab target through. You're just trying to get some threat on everybody. I mean, with a paladin, it's pretty easy. Just throw it on a consecrate or whatever else, but you can't always do that. Sometimes you have to tab target quickly through your targets. You're trying to grab a target, but then you accidentally tab target to something way off in the distance and you don't notice it, you know? Well, now I will. Now I will notice it. The crosshairs are only visible when the nameplates are visible. If there's no nameplates, there's no crosshairs. So it's anchored directly to the nameplates themselves. So you might like it, you might not. But on the other hand, I didn't put this together for you. I put this together for me, and I like it. So it stays for now. Of course, we are using a little bit of a different font in places. You saw it on the nameplates. You see it up here above the map. You see it on the latency. You see it on my SCADA damage meter over here. It's a font called Roadway. I like it. You can also see it on my bindings, on my action bar buttons here. We'll get to these in a moment. Very fancy. Next, just to touch on this, you guys aren't going to see this when I'm in an instance, but you might see this if I do anything else, like leveling wise or out in the world wise. World Defense channel. I'm in the World Defense channel, but this is kind of for the PvP folks. I am on a PvE server, so it's really not that big of a deal that I watch the World Defense channel, but I like to see the action that's happening out in the world. You know, I like to see what's going on, and if I'm about to go questing somewhere, it helps to know if that zone is under attack. You know, if someone's beating the crap out of the NPCs in that zone, well, I'm going to go get a drink, or I'm going to go make some food or something, you know, and chill out for a few. Not really that big of a deal. Obviously, if I would have flown there and all the NPCs were dead, I would have done the same thing. But really, on a PvP server, it means a lot more. You can find fights, and then, of course, you know where not to go when it's time to quest. But the big deal about the World Defense channel is that you see these numbers to the right. This one has a 32. So Feathermoon Stronghold in Feralis was attacked 32 times within that 30 seconds. I'm using an add-on called Zone Defense. It is way out of date, but it still works. You see that this zone is unknown right here, and that's because the zone, the add-on is out of date. So you kind of have to tell it. You can go into the add-on options, into the Lua files, and then define the zones that are missing or unknown. But that's that. I don't know. I wanted to touch on it because it's going to be flashing here a whole lot, and people might say, why is he in the World Defense channel? So I wanted to touch on that. Animated action bar. Yes. So this animated action bar is very, very sleek, very sexy. I like that a lot. Where's here? If I click on an enemy target, I've got it set up with some conditionals. So if I click on a target that I can attack, hostile, no dead, maybe another conditional in there somewhere as well. I don't have the options brought up at the moment. But if I click on something, they just automatically pop up. And they just automatically go away. Now, they do have a bit of a problem if I change targets too fast, or if I fall out of combat at the moment I'm changing targets or clicking on a target. There is a bit of a problem. You may see me have to reload my instances, my game clients a few times. Not shut them down and load them back. I'll just go ahead and do a UI reload. So that might have to be something, because there's a bit of a bug. I'm not really sure how to address it. It doesn't happen all that often, but sometimes it does. And when it does, it's kind of annoying. So reloading doesn't take very long at all. What else? Excuse me here. I've got my delicious grapes. As always. I'm sinking down in my chair here. I'm so excited. This chair is made of the same stuff they make slip and slides out of. The digits. I think I just spit. Hopefully you guys didn't see that. Very juicy grapes. The digits in the upper left, same thing as before. Just a new font. It's kind of a new layout. The same red and green indicates that my keymaps are on, keymaps are off. The repeater warning is a little different now. I've got this repeater enabled up here. And if I, if I swap screens, it's obviously still up over here, and it's letting me know that, hey, you still have repeater enabled in that window. Now, before, I did have a toggle. When I swapped screens, it would just automatically shut off repeater. I might bring that back. I'm still configuring my IceBoxer profile. We'll talk about that in a moment. So we'll turn this off. But what else do I have here? Did I even talk about it? Oh, it's further down the list, but let's just talk about it now. So the digits, if you watched the first UI video and then maybe the one in between, I was talking about like vehicle combat and emotive and stuff like that. Well, last night, I finally implemented some incredibly basic and broken at the moment vehicle combat, but I really wanted to get the menus in place. These are menu buttons, by the way, if you didn't watch the other videos. If you're just tuning in now, these are menu buttons. So if I hold shift and I click on this, poof, vehicle combat. I'm proud of that. And here's something really cool. So I set it up this way. This is crazy. I'm very happy about this. I set it up this way so I can turn on repeater and it removes the vehicle combat. I turn off repeater, vehicle combat comes back. But if I turn on repeater and then I shut off vehicle combat, I move back to just regular mode and I turn off repeater, vehicle combat does not show back up. Very fancy toggle system. Very fancy toggle system. Some people are like, big deal, dude. Well, it is a big deal to me. I love it. It's great. So what else do we have here? Let's show the list again. I guess that's it for the UI real fast. Oh, you know what? I talked about, right in the beginning, I talked about not having a damage meter because I just didn't care. Well, it kind of ties into, where are we at here? It kind of ties into this over here. We'll get to this in a little bit. But the damage meter, I just installed it. I just installed it today, actually, just earlier today. And I stole this theme. I borrowed this theme from another compilation. I saw it. I was like, oh, that's great. And so I took it and then I changed up the bars a little bit so everything kind of worked out. But you can see the damage that I'm pulling. Now, this is just on a dummy. This isn't out in an instance, but I'm pretty geared. We'll get to that. Anyway, here's SCADA. I don't know if it's going to be present the whole time. I may just get rid of it. Right now, I'm going to keep it. I kind of like it. It looks a little fancy, and it's not really all that intrusive in the bottom right-hand corner. And some people do want to see what my DPS is. So, okay. You guys can see it. Where the hell is my list? Here it is. I got so much crap open. So I've rebuilt the IceBoxer profile from scratch. And where is it here? Here it is. I guess I'm going to have to get rid of my camera for a moment so you guys can see all this. I'm still working on a menu system. You can see the blue buttons, the green buttons, the red buttons, all for menu systems. These are the old menu buttons that used to be just to the left of the unit frames. I think they were. They might be coming back. I need to kind of change them up a little bit and because I don't have the Druid anymore. That was something. Is that on my list? It is on my list. There, I swapped the Druid for a Warrior. So the Druid was very annoying. I don't know why. The Druid kept running off into the distance. I just couldn't control the Druid with interact with target. Just would not listen. Just a very feral, cat. Just wouldn't listen to what I wanted it to do. So I threw it out into the cold and I brought in the Warrior, and the Warrior is amazing. We'll talk about the Warrior next instance. If I remember, I'm sure I'll blab about the Warrior in an instance coming up. So, but as for the profile here, those buttons may or may not be returned. Well, they will be returning, but they're going to be something different for the Warrior. I got to work things out. Some things are still on the to-do list. So, I guess let's put these side by side here. So here I've just really cleaned up my profile. There's not a lot to go into. It's obviously still the Pro system. I'm still using the Pro system. But everything that I had before, I've broken it up for me into just, it's so much easier to read and to figure out where everything is. Some unimplemented stuff that probably won't be implemented until like Cataclysm Heroic time. It's the same Pro system. It's the same Pro system. I've just broken things up. Again, normally you could throw everything into this would be called the non-combat Keymap by default, but I renamed it. And this is where you would find a lot of things. You would find a big long list of mapped keys, but I didn't want a big long list of mapped keys, so I just continued to break them up into subcategories. So I've got my movement, I've got my formations in here. I've got swaps and toggles in here, which controls a lot of stuff, and it will continue to control more. A lot of things are being implemented still. I'm still trying to work out the kinks in some of this. I've redone my DPS rotation, so they are a bit tighter now. I actually gave some thought to them, and I tried to figure them out at this level, and I think they're a lot cleaner, and I do a lot more damage than before. So I think, was there anything? I don't know if there was anything specific. I just wrote this down just recently, and I don't think there was anything specific for me to show off, really. Just the fact that, here's the old list of stuff. But here, I guess if we look here in the non-combat, you can see that there's just a big list begins to form of mapped keys, and that's what I've done here. So instead of general, I don't have this giant list anymore. I've broken it up into more subcategories and stuff like that. So even control, which is always on by default, only has 4 mapped keys in it, So I've moved a lot of things around. This is all the same. Well, pretty much all the same. I don't think there's anything really to show. I do have my healing setup broken up here. So let's look at that real fast. So before, make sure no one goes AFK on me here. So before, in the last videos, I think I did show my setup with the white click bar border around the unit frames. And before I had one big large click bar just lined up here and one big large click bar lined up here. And I think I may have said I was going to put a middle one in at some point in time. But the problem with those big bars, those big click bars, is that there's space in between the frames, and you can actually accidentally click in between the frames, and then that can really screw things up sometimes. And if you're familiar with playing classes that have, I don't know, it's typically like healing classes. Some of their spells can fire off without a target, but then they turn your cursor into a glowy hand. I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about, but when you've got that cursor, you can't do anything else. You can't do anything else until that glowy hand is taken care of. So you need to either click somewhere or cancel the effect or do something. But if I get that glowy hand while I'm trying to heal from the tank, I don't know that the priest has that cursor that needs to be taken care of. Sometimes that happens, and it's a result of clicking in between the unit frames. So what a pain in the ass. There have been times where I've wiped because healing has just stopped. I wasn't able to cast any more spells because the client was waiting for me to do something with the glowy hand icon. It's like a claw, the claw that won't let you cast anything. And again, if you've never played a healing class, you won't know what the hell I'm talking about. I can't really show it at the moment. It really helps if someone's dead. Like Resurrection always has the glowy hand. If you don't have a target, you know what? Let's just try it. Does she have a resurrection spell up? Make a fool out of myself here. Where is it called? It's called Resurrection. There. You see how the cursor is glowy? You can't cast anything else until you take care of that glowiness. And that can really cause a wipe. So you have to right click or click on a target for that to work. So that's why I've created buttons now, individual buttons that sit on the frames themselves. Now here's a cool thing. Watch this. I can just swap over to window 1, just like that. We'll get to that in a moment. So I've got, I created individual buttons this time, and it's so much nicer. I can no longer accidentally click in between the frames because there is the space there. If you used an add-on like Grid or something where there's no spaces between your unit frames, then you don't need to create individual buttons like this. You don't really need to create individual buttons for this anyway, because if you don't click in the spaces, then you're not going to have any problem. But me, I'm a wild man. I'm just clicking all over the place. So sometimes I click in the spaces, and that's bad. So I was like, how do I eliminate that? And I figured I would just make individual buttons that all kind of do the same thing. So this column right here is all the priest. She does the exact same spells that she could before. the middle column that I finally implemented is for the shaman. So she can cast, healing spells, but this just eats right through her mana incredibly fast. So I don't really use that. That's just there for me to have it there and have it implemented so that in the future I can continue to add things to it. And the left column here is all the paladin as usual, but everything works great. Still got the double freedom. Still love my double freedom. But in the future, you're going to see these white borders removed from here. So again, these are just for me and my training wheels to make sure that I am comfortable clicking where I should be clicking. And I've kind of now trying to beat this into my head where these buttons are and where I should and shouldn't be clicking. So that's for me. The white borders are going to go away in the future. And that's that. So the character swap menu. Hey, look at that. It's next. It's next. So the character swap menu is I hold on Alt, I hit my middle mouse button, and I've got this thing that pops up, and it's got these numbers, and this, this goes to each of my game clients. So if I just hover over 3 and I let go of middle mouse, I swap over to 3. If I hover over 4, let go of the middle mouse, I swap over to 4. Very, very fancy. Obviously I can click on the windows if I want to move around. Obviously I still have my, you can hear me, I still have my swap hotkeys on the keyboard. But now, just like a typical, where is it here? Like an OP menu, this is OP right here, but it's not exactly implemented how I'd like to yet. So this is an add-on for World of Warcraft. It's a radial menu. And you can do the same thing with World of Warcraft, with ISBoxer. It doesn't come with the cool animated buttons, the cool radial animation, but maybe in the future. So I can swap characters around. I'm trying to get myself to use that more often though, because it's really nice to just, I can just swap wherever I need to really quickly right away without having to figure out, click on the bottom, or find my swap hotkeys up here in the F keys where I have them. So that's very fancy. Next, we're running out of time. I'm trying not to make this too long. New click bar healing setup. I already went over that. Ground AoE video effects, not a big deal, but I've kind of, it's the same video effects setup as before that I showed on the priest for her ground heal. I don't have the mage implemented yet. I don't have Blizzard implemented for the mage. Still things to work on. I don't know if I'm going to have that by the next instance that I start. We'll see. But this is a little wider. Now that I'm using a bigger resolution, I figured I'd give this video effects window, make it a little theatrical. It's like the widescreen look. So very fancy as always. I like it. I have to remember to use it. I'm so overpowered. So I guess we'll talk about this. I need a swig of water. Hold on. So since I last did an instance, I may have acquired some gear that puts me on probably the same level as like heroic ICC. I'm probably on about an item level the same as heroic ICC 25 man gear. You can see this ridiculous DPS over here. Again, this was just on a dummy, and my shaman was able to do 14,000 DPS, and my warrior was able to do 13,000. Typically, the warrior is actually ahead of the shaman. I guess the shaman got some good crits in. I don't know. Like I said, I really don't pay attention to damage meters, but I did want to see things were dying pretty fast, and the gear kind of trivializes things. Now, of course, I could take the gear off. I don't really want to. Well, two things here. It allows me, it trivializes some stuff, yes. And that's sad. I don't get near to dying as much anymore. But because of that, I've now become bolder. And I've begun to pull lots of stuff, incredibly large groups, where I can. I can't always do that. Sometimes it's like really long between packs. So sometimes I don't do it. But where I can, hopefully I can pull some very large packs of enemies in the future here in the upcoming instances to make things exciting and put myself in danger. See if I can kill myself. But it also gives me the option to maybe do some raids. You know, maybe I don't know. I haven't tried raids with this team, but I'm pretty overpowered. The mage is she's not overgeared. But these three are. The melee characters, they are just out of control, man. They are just killing machines, and you're going to see that in the next episodes. I'm just going to cut through things. And the mage has a macro to where she casts like 3 arcane blasts and then a barrage that she's supposed to use. She rarely ever gets to that barrage. Things are dead long before the mage ever gets to do anything. That's why her DPS is typically so low. She doesn't really get a chance to blow things up all that often. So I might have to replace her. She's good for like CC and stuff if I was to implement that, but I don't know. We'll see. Future plans, things to think about. So obviously to do menu buttons to the left of the frames that I had before, and a buff button. Since I redid all my setup, I don't really have a buff button. I just kind of have to go to each screen like I did in the very beginning and click on buffs. See, there I go again. I'm hitting the keyboard when I should just be using my cool swap menu. So, just like that. Okay. Well, I think that's it. It's kind of a long episode. I had a lot to cover. Lots of stuff going on. UI has changed. Stuff has changed. We're going to have some fun. We're going to have some fun, though. Hopefully. Hopefully it's fun. I think this is everything I wanted to talk about. Okay, I think that's it. So, thank you for watching, and we will see you in the next episode. Thanks, guys.